Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Go ahead and get started. Welcome to Friday Coffee. I'm Susan from the Chamber. So glad that you're here. Full room. This is awesome. It's great. Glad you're here. First off, I want to acknowledge and thank our sponsors for today. Coming in, our practical wellness, Dr. Sonia, her team. So she's going to talk a little bit more, but I just want to say thank you for that. We appreciate your sponsorship. Rebecca told me we have 22 people joining us on Zoom, so I'm supposed to not forget them whenever it's time to do introductions, which sometimes I do, but we've all been doing the Zoom for a while, so those folks there will probably have their mute on so that we don't have to serve. And any of this portion of this program, don't record it, just to get permission. So I'm trying to remember my folks that are joining us on Zoom. So introductions around the room. Who wants to start? All right. Joan is going to start. Go ahead.
I'm Joan Wilkes. I'm the Salesforce User Experience Trainer with Central Bank. And I'm Dr. Sonia McGowan. I'm the owner of Covenant Pediatric Wellness Center.
I'm Kayla Nieper, and I am a chiropractor.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy King. I'm the Regional Vice President of AT&T, working on their legislative and external affairs.
I'm Tim. I just started for Jefferson Bank. I moved to the area just recently from Colorado last year, and I'm sort of new to the chamber.
My communications. Very Plummer with the chamber.
Can I bring it back?
You know how it works. John Long, Assistant CFO, Farm Bureau.
Brayden Schlup with Premium Pets.
Brad Schlup, Premium Pets.
Missy Bono with the Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership.
Stephanie Lehman, CNS Employment Solutions.
Penalong retired. Roberto Smith, Liberty Mutual / Paragon Insurance Agency.
Good morning, Stu Murphy, retired, but I'm also a chamber ambassador.
Dr. Nikki Altman, physician with Liberty Family Medicine. I'm Beth Caviel, business development manager with Liberty Family Medicine. Abby Lubert, interior designer and I own your design company.
My name is Ian Lubert, and I am with digital marketing.
Trina Tennant, Central Bank, and Red Slipper Warrior Project.
Dan Basel, home health nurse.
Jay Moore with chamber staff.
Darcy Frank, American Cancer Society.
Paul Sampson, Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership. Jason Oxy, Big IT Construction Company.
Dick Schaefer, United States Marine Corps, retired. This year's coordinator for the Toys for Tots program. First time here, so glad to see a lot of fresh faces.
Good morning. My name is Rich Lewis. Marketing Director for U.S. Disaster Restoration. I'm a visitor. And I'm Ken Gerber with the News Tribune.
Carrie from Jerry's Hallmark Shop. Ian. Rebecca, check your stuff. Lauren Pitts, Chamber Staff.
Luke Holtschneider, you get to hear from me shortly.
All right. Anybody on Zoom, if you want to unmute yourself and say hello, so we know that you're there.
Good morning. Yep. This is Felicia Fowler with the Builders, membership director of a commercial construction association.
Good morning. This is Jessie Quatamne, the owner of the Growth Coach of Columbia.
Good morning. Amanda Love with First Mid Bank and Trust.
Good morning. This is Rich with Three Rivers Electric.
Good morning. This is Leslie Tanner, commercial lender at Central Bank.
Morning. This is Paula Benny, CNS Employment Solutions.
Hi there. I'm Doug Cruz. I work with Heath Clarkson and Doug Nelson in Jeff City.
This is Liz Weber Gaines with Armstrong Teasdale.
Good morning. Rochelle Weaver, Cumulus Media.
Hello.
Jacob Robinette, Missouri Public Service Commission.
Good morning, Ron Fitzwater, Mayor, Jefferson City.
Okay.
Good morning. This is Quentin Rice. I'm with the Capital Region MU Healthcare Amphitheater and also JQ's on High.
Okay, I think we got everybody. John, do you want to introduce yourself? We just did introductions right before you stopped in.
Sorry, my name is John Bergen with Build Asset Management.
Okay, and anybody else? Did I hear somebody on Zoom that was gonna introduce himself? Okay. Okay, well, good, great. All right, I want to welcome new members that we have to the chamber since we came together last for a Friday coffee. We have the Pizza Hut there, brand new restaurant group, Heirloom Design Company, which you guys are here. James Madsen, Cool Running, Yardy's Jamaican Restaurant, Polly Magic, Remax Jefferson City Nick, Landon, Roberto Smith, you're here. So it's Comparion, and then I took out the Liberty, I'm sorry on this.
No, that's fine.
It went over to the second line, but yeah, so you explained you were at our new member welcome, so that's kind of, it's a division, or they're kind of changing that?
So Liberty Mutual kind of switched their business model from a captive agency to more of a brokerage. So their new name, they're still a parent company. Liberty Mutual is still a parent company, but Comparion Insurance. So insurance sales, all insurance sales go through Comparion, if that makes sense.
All right.
So
sorry, I took that part off your name, but I'm glad you said it when you introduced yourself. Good. And then we have Representative Rudy Beat as a member too, as a new member. Anybody else that? Okay. Oh, there. All right. Now I'm going to introduce our sponsor, Dr. Sonia. She's going to talk with you a little bit about. Hopefully.
All right, I'm going to drive. So hi, everyone. Dr. Sonia McGowan. I am a pediatric chiropractor, and like I mentioned, I'm the owner of Covenant Pediatric Wellness Center. And so we do lots of things at our practice. We really specialize in complex kids. So that's our jam more than anything else. So kids who have autism, AD, ADHD, PANS and PANDAS, and you know, we see the spectrum. So not just kids with autism and ADHD, but also kids who have restrictive eating, kids who have tongue and lip ties that are also affecting their development and eating skills. And so while most of the community thinks about a chiropractor as, you know, ow, my neck hurts or I have whiplash, that's not at all what we do. We are very neurologically based. We use the spine just as an entry point to the nervous system to help kids reach developmental milestones more effectively, to get past developmental challenges that they might have. We also have Covenant Pediatrics under our roof as well. So we have Dr. Strong, who is a pediatrician, and so she not only helps us with our complex kids, but sees general pediatrics as well. Like I mentioned, we do a lot of work with kids with tongue and lip ties. We see pregnant moms and new babies as well. And we also just do regular chiropractic for regular folks as well, although pediatrics really is our focus. And so I wanted to use the opportunity today to welcome Dr. Kayla Nieper. She is our newest associate chiropractor. She is as well a pediatric chiropractor, and she's got some real specialties that she really pays a lot of attention to. So she does pediatric chiropractic as well as soft tissue modalities. So we do things like, you see her doing kinesiotape there on the left, some other soft tissue modalities with adults and kids as well. And one of the things that she is very experienced in is using kinesiotape for infants. So you've probably seen kinesiotape on athletes, you know, the stripes of color, you see it on Olivia's leg there. But she uses it very strategically for babies who are struggling with developmental milestones. So I'm going to let her just give you a quick synopsis on that.
Yeah, so our skin is the largest organ of our body, and so with that it comes lots and lots of nerve endings. And so what we have discovered through my research and everything, it has been discovered that when we use kinesiotape in a specific way along the skin, what it does is it contacts the brain, and then the brain contacts the surrounding tissue and says, hey, we need to pay more attention to that area. So what it we can do is like more common things, like if a baby comes in with torticollis, we can use that tape on the neck to kind of help be like, hey, you know, don't rotate this way anymore. We need you to be straight. Another thing is like if the baby is either not crawling yet or crawling in the wrong way, we can use that tape to bring awareness to that area. Another one is like toe walking. So if a child starts walking, but then they're only on their toes, and we really need that heel to toe action, we can use that tape to kind of promote that. So that's a great tool that we want to kind of incorporate into our pediatric patients.
So if you know any babies who are struggling with developmental milestones in any way, if they have what she mentioned, torticollis, where their head is kind of stuck like this, you know, that's not appropriate. If we've got kids who aren't rolling or sitting on time, they're not holding their heads up appropriately, if, you know, in any way are not meeting developmental milestones, we are absolutely the clinic to come to. We have an occupational therapist, a physical therapist on staff, as well as a lactation consultant, medical doctor, 2 chiropractors. So if you've got kids who have any challenges at all, we're the place to come for sure. So this is just a little glimpse of some of our staff and some of the kids we work with, and then our contact information. So if you have any questions at all, our contact information is there, and we also have some information folders. So if you'd like more information, please feel free to come and grab one of those, or grab us at the end and ask any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
And do we want to do the drawing for
Sure.
Friday?
So today's quite Friday. I haven't had day off in 2 weeks, and so I'm a little. So I walked out of the office without our door prize. So we'll go ahead and draw for it, and then it'll just lure you to our office. Yeah. Yeah, sure enough. We're right across. We're actually in Darcy's old office, right across from the animal shelter, which is a dangerous place for me to be. So our winner, I think it's Stu. Yeah.
Come on up. Another pretend photo up. Come on up.
Oh, boy.
You don't let it stop. You guys, you can hold one of the folders or something. You know, there's a great surprise in there. So you guys want to have an opportunity to do another photo. Okay, I got it. I would have that.
We're different.
Yeah. All right. And then hold up the phone. There we go. Yeah. No one's gonna know. Don't tell anybody. It's our secret that there was no prize. Oh, here we go. Okay, there we go. We're together. Good. Thanks, guys. No problem. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We appreciate the sponsors. Rochelle, introduce herself. I know she's on Zoom joining us. Cumulus is our partner in this sponsorship because you get exposure here at this event, and we also announce you in the emails. But then Cumulus, Rochelle, if you're still there, I'd put you on the spot. Do you want to share with them a little bit about Cumulus and what you do?
Morning. Yes, we represent 7 of the radio stations here in town, and as well as the digital products. And so it's awesome to be a sponsor of the Friday Coffee, because along with the exposure that you're giving in there today, we'll also meet with you, craft a 30-second radio ad, and we'll put it on one of our radio stations. We talk to close to 200,000 people each week through our media, and we'd love to sit down and kind of get your message out there to our listeners.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give some announcements about some other, this is a great networking opportunity, but we have several opportunities each month that you can meet with other chamber members, and one of them is called Chamber Connections. It's on the 3rd Thursday every month at a different chamber member, restaurant, or bar, and then we partner with a business too. So this Thursday on the 21st from 4 to 5:30, our Chamber Connections is at Last Flight Room Company, and our business partner is Jefferson Parks and Venue Works, and Quentin was on with CRMU Amphitheater, so they're kind of one and the same there. So encourage you to stop there, bring your business cards, meet other chamber members, and network from 4 to 5:30 at Last Flight Roofing Company. And we appreciate those sponsors too. We've got several opportunities for professional development that we're going to share today. And the first one is from the young professionals. They have their mid-mo summit. Is there someone, I'm looking to see if there's someone in the room that's involved. There you go, Joan, tell them about it. They got a flyer on the table there.
Yeah, so our summit is going to be at the Special Olympics, and it's next Thursday. We're gonna have 4 speakers, as well as a speaker from Special Olympics, and then 4 additional breakout sessions. So it's an all-day thing, 8 to 5, and we really look forward to getting in and developing our professional development.
And this is, anyone can register. I mean, the young professionals put this on, but if it's something of interest, anyone in your organization, if they're not necessarily a member of young professionals, this is a great opportunity for them to meet other young professionals and have a full day, you know, of networking and professional development. Some mixers that they have. So yeah.
Hey Susan, can I give a testimonial to Alex? So for those of you that don't know Alex, he co-wrote a book with John Gordon, who is a very well-known author as far as business coaching goes. So I don't know the rest of the speakers, I'm sure they're great, but that alone is probably going to be worth your time at that conference.
Is that your keynote there, John? Did you have on that speaker? I was thinking,
yeah,
I think the book I've heard in their community, so I'm
yeah,
glad
the book
you
is
shared
called The
that.
Sale. So if you can't go, at least buy the book.
Yeah, I heard that.
Is an awesome book. That's his book.
So good. Okay, another opportunity for professional development and celebrating business is the Business Summit. It's November 2nd. We will start taking reservations for that soon. Do want to announce that we do have our speaker for that, Patrick Carpenter with Great Business Coaching is going to be our keynote speaker, and then we're going to give away the small business, the employee awards, and then also the pitch it to win and cash winners. So that's November 2nd. You're going to get more information about that. There's an opportunity for you to, you know, register and just attend, or maybe your business might want to have a display there, but you're going to get more information about that. Mainly today, we just wanted to remind you that the business and the employee awards, the deadline to register someone or to nominate someone is the 19th. And we appreciate our sponsors at Hawthorne Central and then and KRCG. They help us promote those nominees, and then we share the winner at the summit. But you have until the 19th. It's very simple for you to register a business or employee. You fill out a quick nomination form, and then they fill out a profile, all the information about themselves or their business to be considered for the award. So to nominate, and if you are, I was asked this question, if you want to nominate an employee, it can be your employee, or it can be an employee that you just know is deserving. So it can be someone that's not from your organization. We got asked that question. So just a quick reminder. And then Ashley, I'm going to let you talk about the pitch it, because you're involved in that, and that's another important part of our summit.
Yeah, so if you have a business idea, like a new business idea, or an idea for your existing business, submit it to the Pitch It Winning competition. The deadline is this Sunday for a chance to win $5,000. We'll pick 5 finalists to move on to the competition.
We appreciate that. That's great. Got some great sponsors for that too. The next opportunity you'll have to get together for, you know, a business development is our small business roundtable, and that's October 13th in this room. The topic is customer acquisition, developing leads into sales, and we have Chris Downey, who's with Image Marketing and Advertising. He's going to present that program, and then Jeremy Morris with Williams Keepers as a facilitator. So that's really designed for business owners or managers to come together and just share ideas, and really it's a discussion and information sharing. But we're really fortunate to have Chris and Jeremy there kind of leading that discussion. But if you haven't had an opportunity to attend one of our small business roundtables, I would encourage you to do that. More professional development that several people in the room were involved in, the Chamber and JC Rep, the Bitcoin expedition. John, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I've got a copy of what's on the screen there that I might circulate around the room if folks don't mind passing that. I don't think I brought enough. Better attendance than I expected. So now you kind of know the theme, so I'm going to take away the answer here. But if I told you that there was a way to send money where you have the funds instantaneously without any daily cap, maximum, instantly verifiable, so an accountant stream, the ability to audit every transaction going back to the beginning of time, a system that promoted individual responsibility, autonomy, and freedom without regard for government or a third-party payment system, and had never been counterfeited or hacked, and I told you that all those elements relate to Bitcoin, I would present then to you the question, does Bitcoin matter? Does it matter to you, your business, your portfolio, maybe even your government? And if you're preparing for Thanksgiving conversations this fall and you don't know how to defend that topic at the family table, at minimum, we would invite you to come learn about this at a day-long event that we call Bitcoin Expedition that our firm is hosting, and we're hosting it predominantly because we feel like the financial industry has taken a back seat on this conversation, and that has invited in a lot of snake oil. So you'll hear the term crypto, and our firm differentiates heavily between Bitcoin and other types of crypto. So this is as much a consumer protection effort as it is the opportunity for you to learn about how to preserve and generate wealth for yourself and your business. We also just recently launched a fund in relation to Bitcoin, but not Bitcoin itself. It's what we think, we believe is the world's first private credit fund, which is collateralized by Bitcoin. So we own loans, not Bitcoin itself, but Bitcoin's instant fungibility provides for a pristine collateral profile, in our opinion, compared to real estate or other types of normal collateral that's used to these types of funds. And so we're bringing in some folks from around, frankly, the country who would normally be hard to get in Jefferson City. So I'd only want this to be an opportunity for you, your colleagues and businesses to learn about this topic and frankly this new technology and answer the question, why do we even need new money or a new or complementary money? To hear from these folks who usually would only show up in Miami, LA, or Austin. So this can also be a great opportunity for us to represent Jefferson City and communities who have embraced or been neutral on the subject of policy related to promoting entrepreneurs the opportunity to expand what can happen with this new technology, have benefited in those societies. And I can point to some specific examples. This is also the first time you have 4 presidential candidates who have a policy and something to say about Bitcoin too on both sides of the aisle. So what I would submit to you is this feels a lot to me like 1994. If I told you the internet was going to be important and you didn't know what that was or didn't believe me or thought you could opt out, our belief is that it does matter. It may matter this year, it may matter in 20 years, but it probably will matter to you. And if you're curious as to why you went to bed last night and the thing you stored your labor's efforts in, the dollar, lost 6% of its purchasing power on an annualized basis, and you wondered what did you do to opt into that decision, then you're someone who's participating probably in a stream of thought where you should be curious about what is this technology and again, how does it impact you. So the tickets are $99 for the event. Fortunately, everyone sitting in this room can get a complimentary ticket. Susan, the Chamber, Luke, JC Rep, Central Bank, Williams Keepers have all been generous to be sponsors. And if you're a client or a member of those organizations, you can get a complimentary ticket. So by going to bitcoin-expedition.com, typing in promo code JC Chamber, you or anyone that you want to share this news with can attend the event free of charge. We'll start about 8 o'clock. We'll run into a happy hour, and then we'll end the evening with a whole hog roast and some drinks. So not only is it going to be informative, it's going to be a fun day, and I think that you'll find that you're energized and hopefully leaving with some questions and some enlightenment. So more than my 30-second. I'm good about doing that. So thank you for considering this. Please spread the word. I think this is important for Jeff City.
All right. I do have one other announcement before we move on to the program. It's Jay's birthday today, so happy birthday! And like me, I never work on my birthday. And here Jay is working on his birthday. If you know me, I'm like, don't work on your birthday, don't work on your birthday, but here he is, and that's typical Jay. So Jay, happy birthday. We're glad that you're here so we can all wish you happy birthday. So, I don't know if we're gonna sing. Gary, are you standing up to sing? Gary, take it away.
Sit down, Gary.
Happy
birthday.
A great opportunity to introduce our guest speaker today, Luke Holtschneider. Luke started at Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership a couple of years ago now, right? Shortly after that organization was begun in 2021. He's really hit the ground running, and I see that on almost a daily basis. what he's involved in, different projects that are important to the future of this community, like the MSP redevelopment project, the multimodal facility you're going to hear more about this morning. And you'll be amazed after his presentation about how many great opportunities he's working on here in our community. He spent 12 years at the Department of Economic Development, started out as a project manager, and when he left, he was deputy director. He's got a broad range of experience around the state, working with communities on projects. We joined forces about a year and a half ago. Luke and I sat down and decided to create a workforce coalition. I'm sure he's going to touch on some of the topics that coalition is addressing today. It looks especially helpful in the area of housing development in the community. He's a Jefferson City Navy, a graduate of Elias and Lincoln University. And that's not credibility, I don't know what that is. But we're really proud to work with him, and he's become a good friend, and we see each other on a regular basis. And I really trust his judgment. I think J.C. Brett made an excellent choice when they offered him this opportunity. So please welcome Luke Holtschneider.
That's the cool applause stuff before you talk. So it's good there. I appreciate that, Gary. You know, last night before I went to bed, I thought, hey, it's gonna be nice out. Keep the doors and windows open. This morning, I'm very much regretting it. So this is gonna be. But happy Friday. Good to see everybody this morning. So again, my name is Luke Holtschneider, president of the Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership. As Gary mentioned, we are a newer economic development organization based in Jefferson City, serving Jefferson City and Polk County. Excuse me, Polk County. This was really the leadership of Jefferson City stepping back 3.5, maybe 4 years ago, looking at this community as a whole. How can we potentially start to do things better? What do we need to focus on, and how can we structure ourselves for success? Which leads to the creation of the Jefferson City Regional Economic Partnership. When we started roughly 2 years ago coming on board, it was a blank canvas, which was great. But ultimately, Jeff City was not a startup entity. Jeff City is a very active, thriving community. So there's a base of activity that we want to incorporate and build off of. And there's a lot of great, strong organizations that are here today that are focused on improving this community. So how do we fit it? What are the gaps? What areas should we prioritize in? And so we set out to really create our vision and mission. And so as an entity, we're focused on facilitating those opportunities. Not, again, it's not a competitive environment locally with partner organizations, chambers, CDD, and others. It's a relationship, it's a partnership. And so what we're trying to do is help facilitate these priority activities within the community that create the success we're all looking for. So we really broke it out into 4 main areas of focus. One is we want to be a lasting entity in organization. So our success and how well we do out in the field greatly depends on the success internally. So we have to be a well-structured and efficient entity. And then looking at kind of from a development standpoint and how do we focus our activities, it really funneled down into 3 main development areas. So focused on infrastructure, really ensuring that critical infrastructure for today's economy, as well as the future economy, is being worked on and planned and built out. Community development. The success of our community is based on those community development type activities. So the services, the safety, the security, really the hospitable environment that we have. And what people typically would associate with that economic development organization is the business development. So how can we recruit industry? How can we grow industry? And really a lot of that depends on, do we have the infrastructure and do you have the community that can promote that? But this is a team that started with 1, then became 2, now we're at 3. So all 3, our whole, it's like a retreat here. So the whole staff is here. So myself, Missy came on board. Missy was previously with the Chamber of Commerce, servant capacity there, focused on economic development during that time. Paul being core partner in so many developments that, prior to us, that this community has been the recipient on. And so was a huge value added asset into the organization, and his knowledge and background, his skills that he brought into this. But it can be done with just as an organization. So the creation of JC Rep was based off of really being the economic development arm for both Jefferson City as an entity, as well as Cole County. But really what drove the development of the organization was private industry. And so you can see up here today, we've got 30+ private businesses that are investors and partners into JC Rep. And that's really where a lot of the success and a lot of economic development agencies around the state really look to us as a premier example where we are truly a public-private partnership, and I think it's very clear on the partners that you see up here on the screen today. So that's a little bit about who we are. Talk about kind of some things that are going on. I could spend hours, literally multiple hours, talking about just a single project, but I'm gonna hit on a few that you may have heard about, and some you may not have. The first one, and I think it was mentioned, is the Capital Area Rail Terminal. And just, I think this is an example of us as an organization, but I think a direction for the community as well. Not even 2 years ago, there was a conversation among a local business, and it was really looking at how do we expand rail opportunities in this community. So going back to our areas of development focus, infrastructure and business development was, how can we expand infrastructure in a really a unique asset that not every community and not every area of each community has access to, being rail, but how can we better provide that service to more industry? It's very costly to do. It's, it's a struggle. I don't think anybody here was with the railroad, but it can be a difficult process to navigate. And so really the concept became, again, this was stepping back to November of 21, is there an opportunity to expand rail access to where it can provide rail accessibility to businesses not located on rail? So can we have a rail terminal that you don't have to actually physically be located, but you could utilize that rail access? So we got together with a federal partner, a funding agency that saw this as a really great project, a private business that would utilize this immediately upon the creation of this development. And then we started to discuss with businesses throughout the region. And it came back very quick that there's a lot of value to this from industry that, building out a rail site for them specifically just financially doesn't make sense. They may have a rail car or two that they would utilize per month. But if they had access to this without having to incur the cost of development, it'd be a huge value. So again, how do we make our community more competitive through infrastructure and business development activities? And so that brainchild that started, in a conference room in November, we were awarded $1.5 million from the Federal Economic Development Administration. We used those funds to leverage. We were able to get a MODOC grant for $880,000. We were just awarded a USDA grant, USDA Rural Development, so a federal entity, another $200,000. We've got local governments involved in this. We've got private industry involved. So if you look for a case study example of a public-private partnership, I don't think you could get any more clear than this. There's public support at all levels, from federal to local on the government side, and there's private investment going into this as well. So that concept, that idea that was discussed in November, is nearly 2 months, 3 months away from being complete on the construction side, which is unique in the major development like this. So these are some conceptual renderings, but ultimately what you're going to see on the site. So the site is out east. If you take Highway 5063 east to Militia, take the Militia exit, or keep pushing, use the Militia exit, and you come around off Algoa or Sturzer Road. It's at the corner of Sturzer and Shamrock. And so you can see up here on the photo on the top left, Scholastic is across Sturzer Road. Modern Litho is up there. You can't see it, but it's on the northern part of the screen. The Jeff City landfill for public services is to the west of this, just across Shamrock Road. That's an overview layout of the site. Bottom right picture is kind of the conceptual rendering. And so what this provides is the extension of the rail line that's currently out there serving a couple industries. ManWeb, Outlaw, and Morse Packaging currently have direct rail access. This is taking and extending that line further east or west, and then putting it in what is today kind of a finished quarry site, about a 30-acre quarry, which is the big quarry wall that you see there, and providing 3 separate rail loading and unloading lanes. To the left, you see these tanks. So that was one of the partners at the early stage of the project that said, if this is built, we would, be looking at a 10-ish, $8-10 million type of capital investment that would expand their capacity. It would be an immediate use case. And so it's getting close to breaking ground as well as the private development, which would be just to the north of this public facility. So the project itself will be publicly owned. But what we're also doing is partnering and contracting with a private agency that will run this transload facility. So they will go out there and market it. I think we all kind of understand this, that many times government can build it, but private business will find a way to make it successful. And so that's what we wanted to do in this public-private approach, was use the public approach to building out the infrastructure, allow the private business to make it successful, both for the operation side, but the businesses it would serve. You can tell we, was it a month ago? Right, a month ago. We did the ceremonial breaking ground. The ground was broke numerous months before that. But just timing and, a lot of planning went into putting the event together. We had great turnout, 75 plus people in attendance. On the top right, you can see we've got our federal partner on the far right. Can't tell from here, but that jacket that he's wearing are dollar bills the entire time. So it's great when the federal government shows up with that jacket on. But it does depict, you've got the federal government, you've got state government. So the middle, lady in the middle is with MoDOT. Lady to the left of me is with the State Department of Economic Development. You've got Jeff Helsher with Polk County, Mayor Ron Fitzwater. So really depicts the partnership that was involved in this project. While we're out there, picture yourself off Militia, out east. Something that's unique and new, and will soon be pumping gas and serving sandwiches, is Break Time is building a truck stop. Jefferson City's first truck stop. And I think a lot of value and acknowledgement of this project is it took local participation and involvement to kind of push this project through. But on a daily basis, this area where the transload facility is and where this truck stop is, there's more than 3,000 people that are there every day working. So we've got a heavy concentration of our manufacturers. You've got Scholastic, Martin Litho, Morris, all those employers I talked about. But you also have the Missouri National Guard. You have the Jefferson City Correctional Center. So you've got a large concentration of people on a daily basis that, both from a logistics standpoint, having a truck stop, which we don't have, so our largest concentration of over-the-road trucks are coming in and out of this area daily, but also the facility itself will have barbecue, restaurant, but barbecue option within it, as well as Cooper's Chicken. So, a great asset, amenity to the industries that are out there. Again, how do we make ourselves as a community and as a region more competitive? One, I think, that's been talked about to this group on a couple of occasions probably, which is getting close. There's been a lot of conversations where it's close, you don't see it yet, but it's getting close, is the United Capital City Soccer Complex. Kind of going into the quarry setting again, but on Highway 54 next to the Special Olympics training facility. They are still and actively underway in the development, not in the construction part, but in the pursuit of a 4-field soccer complex on that site. Quite honestly, there's been some delays, primarily with the removal of the rock. There was additional business use for the rock that was out there that a lot of that's going to fix some of the levee and dike repairs that are needed on the Missouri River, and some of those projects were delayed. So it's slow progress, but it's definitely a very active project, which I think will be a very unique and valuable asset for this community, both from a exposure of people coming into the community. We all love tourists. There's a lot of, let's have people bring their money into this town and spend it here. But also it allows us to keep our money here instead of traveling to other places to go to this. So UCC has been a very well-received and well-respected organization, I think, in that environment. And there's a lot of folks excited about this facility as well.
Is that facility privately owned?
They, as a nonprofit, will be the owner.
UCC. Okay.
And what you're seeing around it, are conceptual developments that, a soccer complex, a sports stadium is an anchor type development. So it brings a lot of people there, which provides new and advanced opportunities. And so what you're seeing to the southern parts and lower part of the screen are conceptual opportunities. So, you're going, spending a weekend, with children at events like this. The next opportunity is, how can you show those visitors a good time, but also how can you provide resources that they need for food, drink, hotel. One that has been a major topic of conversation that Gary referenced the Workforce Coalition, something that kept coming up: housing. And looking back to where we've been from a census and population standpoint, pretty steady over the past 20 years. Where we wanted to be growing, and looking at what are some of those impediments. So, in the economic development landscape, it has to be well-rounded. Yeah, you need industry, you need a community that people want to be in. So schools, hospitals, good infrastructure, and at the core of it, you have to have a place for people to actually live. They have to be able to rest their heads somewhere at night. And we're at a challenge point where industries have great opportunity. Could probably go around this room, but I know many partners that have expansions. I know that there's businesses that are looking at this community, and one of our greatest impediments to that is a non-growing population at this point and a lack of housing market. And so those two things put together are a risky proposition for somebody that's looking at investing their capital in this community. And so, kind of stepping back, and Paul's been a great asset in this conversation, and really focusing in on, well, how do we approach this? There's a sit back and hope it solves itself. There's the law of supply and demand. That is the challenge of how come it's not. If there's a demand and lack of supply. So what we're trying to figure out is how do we bring those pieces together, and really starting with why are we talking about it? And so that, why are we as an organization, or why are we as a community? And I think that's the place to start. And so why housing? First is, our goal is to enhance the economic prosperity of this community. That's why we're talking about it. Then it's what are we talking about, and what are we trying to achieve through economic prosperity? We want to grow this population. How do we do that? Right now, we need housing. If we have housing, there are opportunities to grow this population. So I think, rather than just jumping to the housing, understand why we're even talking about housing, because that is a key. It's an opportunity to our success and growth as a community. Won't go through this whole slide. A lot of text in here, but really focused into, again, we're trying to enhance the economy through population growth by providing housing for all needs. It's not one type of development, it's not one type of house, it's not one income bracket of individuals that we're targeting. There's needs across the board. We have builders, we have developers, we have land. How do we bring all these pieces together? And so what we've worked through and are working on is really an approach that takes into account single family, multifamily, duplex type developments. How do we meet with the different entities involved with those different types of development? Because many times you'll have different folks involved from the builders or developers standpoint. And how do we begin to understand and how do we begin to matchmake those that may have need or opportunity with those that may have a different need or opportunity that ultimately lead to development? So the construction of additional and new housing. And a big component of that is the communication. It's going to take a lot of dialogue. It's going to take a lot of matchmaking. And where we're starting is, ultimately the low-hanging fruit. There's a lot of sites, there's a lot of developments that have been, they've taken multiple steps already to get themselves to a point where they could start construction, but maybe they haven't. Why? How do we get them to start? It's a lot easier to get them going than it is to start a brand new fresh one. But we also have to understand, as we get those going through the pipeline and they're under construction, what's the next crop of development that we're working on? So we're looking at both active projects. We're looking at those that are kind of in the future and those that haven't even thought about that. So where are we going to be building at? Where are we going to be growing 5-10 years from now? How do we start to plan that? Maybe I'll jump through pretty quick. And one of them, I think this is probably one of the closing slides, but there's always a lot of interest, especially as we talk about housing, the assignments, and it's a very visible facility. There's been, I think, a ton of interest, a ton of support for seeing this site redeveloped. And just recently, a local group has purchased and are at the very beginning stages of a redevelopment at this facility. So DJ Drury, Chad Stockman, which are great partners, have projects going on throughout the community. There's a facility on Marshall Street that they're involved with. They're very active and passionate about the long-term success of this community. And so be excited for this project to continue to move forward. I think the first step is button it up. There's a lot of weather exposure that can get us that facility. We need to close it up and begin the renovation. So we have some great local partners there. Kind of getting into those opportunities we have, and I'll end with this, is in the past year, little over a year, we've had the opportunity to engage with really 3 of our largest private, non-locally based industries on we'll call it expansion or reinvestment opportunities. That shows a huge sign of this community and the opportunities we have ahead. They've committed substantial capital investments, which helps retain their workforce, which helps make their sites more competitive, their facilities more competitive. It really shows that they're wanting to invest in this community. I think these and many others, and I show these as, there's a lot of locally based companies, that are the owners, the principals are from here. These companies are global. So they wake up every day, stockholders are making decisions on where's the most advantageous for their operations. Just based on this over the past year, they see Jefferson City as a great location. We could probably get better. We could get more. And they're seeking more. I think other industries here are seeking more. And they're looking for the community side. So they're looking for people. We have a great community, we have a great base. We have a ton of opportunities, and I think it's just expanding on those. And I think great things to come. So, I went over my time, but appreciate the opportunity. I don't know if there is time for it. Q&A.
A couple of questions for Luke. I wanted to point out that he was recognized by his peers around the state in an organization called Missouri Economic Development Council as the outstanding local economic development person in the state for the past year. And I think he's really proven that that's the truth this morning. Thank you for a great presentation.
Appreciate that.
Any questions?
You can touch on the report. Can you update us on that at all?
Yeah, and probably turned my colleagues on that one. That it's been a long conversation. So again, the rail terminal is a separate development, completely separate project. I say that kind of tongue in cheek because they continue to, a lot of conversation wants to bring those two together. They are two different projects, two different developments. But at this point in time, having a port designation is an asset. We don't do anything with it. It's just an asset that sits there. So really, there has been a much more focused, I think, level of engagement on site identification and finalizing the site based on the business use case and demand. And so where should it be based on the highest use case of industries that would utilize support and initiate the part of the development. There's been a lot of studies, there's been a lot of information, a lot of conversation, but it's kind of jumped past the site and always focused on things beyond the site. We got to focus on where until we finalize the site and really look forward. Paul, Misty.
So I would say in the last couple of years, we've done a lot of due diligence and really looked up and down the river, like truly for the perfect site. And so right now we have identified 3 that we think have a lot of potential, and I have to give Paul a little bit of credit that, focusing on the site, having his skills to really look at the site and identify which one has the most opportunity has been, phenomenal. So we are down to 3 sites that we hired an outside engineering firm to, really look hard at those 3 sites. They're going to give us a pros and cons in the next 45 days, and we'll identify a site and move forward. We have about $2 million from the Missouri Department of Transportation that we have to utilize by June 15th. And so kind of the stars are aligned with moving the port forward finally. It's taken a long time. It's a huge project for our community, but I think it's one that will be very transformational once we identify sites and move forward. So excited about what's going to happen between now and, early June.
We have time for one more. Yes, sir.
Forgive my ignorance, but Port City, as in Port City.
So ports on the river to be able to utilize barges up and down the river to transport goods.
Okay.
And we are one of 17 port authorities in the state of Missouri. And so, utilize that to transport goods is really what we're looking at.
Gotcha.
You have a question? Well, I think for 35 years, anytime we've had economic development discussion, somebody's had to ask about a conference center. So I didn't want this meeting to end without. I think there is sort of a run. Sorry, Elizabeth. Anytime we've had a meeting, anytime we've had a meeting, somebody's always had to ask that question. So I just want to make sure we keep that straight. Olive Garden, yeah.
All the easy ones here, actually.
Sorry.
No, and it is very real. There's been a lot of conversation about conference center over probably decades at this point. I don't know when it started. Because there became a lot of, I think many times it's not necessarily the facility itself that's being discussed, it's where. And where is extremely important, and that's where it kind of pulls on people. Where do they see it? Why do they have issues with certain sites? And we spent a lot of time working with a developer recently at Missouri State Penitentiary site. Eventually, there was a change of direction as far as with the city and ending that commitment on that relationship on the pursuit of that site. But what that opened up was the opportunity to look beyond a single developer at a single site, but start to look at where and what are the opportunities for both the conference center as well as how can we redevelop MSD. I think those are, at times they're one conversation, but then they can also be 2 separate conversations. So there has to be and should be and will be a redevelopment in MSD. It starts with improving the site. Take down the stuff that needs to be taken down and improve the site. Then you rebuild the site. In conference center, may be a component of that. It may not, but it's not forcing it at this point in time based on that previous commitment to be one and the same. So still both very active. There is a fund, there's a fund balance for a conference center that I think there's a strong support and belief that we need it. It will be successful and that we want to see it take place. So I think it's something that we're definitely very focused on. So more cheers.
Susan, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Luke.
You bet. Thank you all.
Now
Appreciate
you
it.
Go around the room if anyone has an announcement that they'd like to make or anybody that's joining us on Zoom. So first, let's anyone in the room, if you have an announcement about something in your business or maybe something a volunteer thing you're involved in. Kit, you want to start?
Yes. So tomorrow night, Saturday night at the CRN Amphitheater, we are bringing Joe Nichols to the amphitheater. Joe Nichols is a very famous country singer. Tequila makes her clothes fall off. That rings any bells. He's still a very relevant singer. He just dropped a new song not too long ago. All of the proceeds from this event benefit the Red Silver Project, which is an empowerment initiative focusing on the emotional and psychological support of women and little girls with cancer. We're very prevalent in the central Missouri area. We just partnered with the Children's Oncology Unit of Women and Children's in Columbia. So that was on our strategic goal, was to expand our footprint. We actually have warriors in 24 states and 4 countries, but our business model is to expand by healthcare facilities so that we can empower more people at a quicker pace. So, show starts at 7:30 tomorrow night. My band gets to open, so I have a little plug for Magnolia Wine. This is the second time we've got to open for a national act, so we're really excited. But it's Sharon Ray says maybe a little bit of a chance for rain, but I think it's going to go around Jefferson City like it has all summer. So tomorrow night at the amphitheater. Good. Good. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know the Toys for Tots campaign is now kicked off officially. I just came back from DC. If you can believe it, they actually have a national training to be a coordinator for Toys for Tots. And if you're not familiar with a computer, you're just SOL. But we're having a ribbon cutting with the chamber on the 29th of September, 1:30. We have a space at the mall just cat corner from J.C. Penney's. Just look for Homer Simpson dressed in a Santa suit. You couldn't find a real Santa. But I've got some pens. Yeah. Well, we have Master Claus. You know who Master Claus is?
Oh, yes, I do, because we had the ribbon cutting last year. I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a retired master sergeant with whiskers and uniform. Yeah, so he was with the governor and they did the whole deal last year. I'm a new guy. I just moved to Jefferson City about 2.5 years ago, right as COVID started just getting more serious. When I came here, there was one house for sale and I ended up getting it. So, I'm going to leave some pens and pencils and some wristbands here on the table. They're free and just take whatever you like. It's just a way of spreading the message.
Good.
Toys for Tots is here.
Good.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just have one. So I'm Beth Cowgill, Liberty Family Medicine. I'm on the committee for the Walk to End Alzheimer's in Columbia, but there's also a walk coming up in Jeff City on October 15th. So I know that a lot of people either know someone personally or know someone who has a family member that has struggled with Alzheimer's. So if you're looking to get involved in that event, it's free. So visit the Alzheimer's website to learn more about that walk on October 15th here in Jeff City.
Darcy?
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we have our fun campaign of Men Wear Pink in Missouri. So if anybody's interested in participating in that faster, I'd love to talk to you. But everybody in the room, to join our Facebook group so you can see all the fundraisers that each one is doing and support them and help spread the word. So all their fundraisers.
Evening Rotary is having a drive-through spaghetti dinner on October 17th. We will have tickets soon.
Anybody else over here? Yeah, Jason.
Sorry, I'll be quick. I'm also involved in the Central Missouri Home Builder Association. We have a Build My Future event, which includes bringing in high school students to expose them to the trades. It's hands-on training on October 18th. If anyone has a child or anyone wants to volunteer for that event, get a hold of Central Missouri HBA, Rachel Andrews. we need housing, and we need all of these opportunities and these kids to learn what the trades are about, so.
Yeah, Carrie?
I think it's important that we hold our elected officials accountable. So if you haven't already, you should go to the City of Jefferson on YouTube and watch the budget meeting from Monday night and last night to see what your council members are working on. On Monday night, they talked about taking money from the parking fund to purchase 4 police vehicles, which is definitely something that hasn't been done. Typically, the parking fund goes for parking garages and parking improvements. So there's that, and then also the parks, of course, that budget has been looked at to fund some dump trucks and a portion for a fire truck, I believe. So there's some different things they're doing. But if that doesn't concern you, then I think the way they have talked to constituents that come to the podium should. So please watch, especially last night's meeting, where Councilman Schwartz talked to a former mayor and called it being lectured. And he used the word lectured multiple times, I think about 4 times or so, when speaking to that individual. So when individuals come to the podium, I think to call them lectured is probably not the right way. I feel like the rudeness factor has been elevated, and I think it's important that we pay attention and address that issue. So, and the former mayor wasn't me. I'm used to being talked to like that by this council, unfortunately. Lastly, that Go Red for Women is having a luncheon in Jefferson City. It's Thursday, September 28th, begins at 4:30 at the Courtyard by Marriott. Thanks.
Beth?
The Redemption Inside the Walls concert is a week from Saturday. It's on the 23rd, next Saturday. So it's featuring Natalie Grant, and she's a Christian performing artist. So the beneficiary this year is Big Brothers Big Sisters. So we invite you all to come to the fairgrounds next Saturday.
I just want to add to Carrie's remarks that those actions would almost eliminate the parks fund balance. Very serious.
And one more thing, YP is having a cornhole competition at Last Light on the 28th. So that's the other slide sitting. Anybody on Anybody on Zoom that you don't want to neglect joining us? Have an announcement?
I'll go quickly if that's all right.
Yes.
So JQ's on High is definitely up and running, and we are excited about next week. We do have the Jefferson City Restaurant Week going on next week with a number of different restaurants participating, and there is a bingo card that you can get, and you can collect stickers from each businesses or each of the restaurants, excuse me, to win some prizes. And so please participate in that and support your local hospitality. I'd also like to echo what Carrie said, and also Kit. We've got a great asset out here with our park, with the amphitheater, and of course this is me putting on my Capital Region MU Healthcare Amphitheater hat and also supporting our beautiful park system. That we need to keep doing that. We need to support the Red Slipper Warrior Project and come out on Saturday. And please, to echo what Carrie said, pay attention to what is going on in your local government and try to help out however you can.
Anybody else? Good. Well, glad that you're here. That's it. We'll call it a day. Glad your party's coming.